Well, folks, it's that time of the year again. It is time for the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs, a time of year where NASCAR pretends everything is fine in the sport and a bunch of needless manufactured drama happens because entertainment. Who will be the 16 gladiators entering the ring this year? Let's be blunt. Calling Austin Dillon a championship contender this year would be like calling Amy Schumer a funny comedian. It's not that Dillon's been bad. He's had a few notable moments this year, most notably finishing second at Auto Club early in the year, having one of the few cars that could pass at Martinsville getting a top 5, and making an epic move late for the win at the Coca-Cola 600, before immediately crashing. He's not been bad, he's just been there, finishing top 15 to top 20 most weeks. He has 4 top 5s and 8 top 10s, and has led only 18 laps. He does have a win this year, getting the win at Daytona, using the powers of punting people out of the way and avoiding a massive crash when the entire field died using the powers of Dale Earnhardt himself. The wannabe reality TV star comes in with the biggest disadvantage, only having 5 playoff points. It's gonna be tough, and honestly, I think he'll be lucky just to make the round of 12. When Denny Hamlin called Alex Bowman a hack last year at Martinsville, many people rightfully made fun of Denny Hamlin for his comments. But if you were to look at Alex Bowman this year, Hamlin may have had a point, not gonna lie. Bowman's only led 29 laps the entire year, and outside of low-key backing into a win at Las Vegas, he's just been completely irrelevant. It's the exact same script as 2020. He got a win in the 3rd race of the year. Everyone said, hey look, Bowman, he might be someone to watch out for. And come summertime, you forget he's in the field half the time. Now, to Bowman's credit, he had a great playoff run in 2020, where he scored the 2nd most points behind his teammate. He could do it again. Hendrick Motorsports cars have been fast, but there's a lot of what have you done for me lately, and lately, I just forget that Alex Bowman drives in NASCAR. He does have 3 top 5 finishes and 10 top 10s, but the last time Alex Bowman finished in the top 5 was all the way back at Dover with a 5th place finish. He's gone 15 straight races without a top 5 finish, and that to me does not sound like a championship contender. I thought Austin Cindric would make the playoffs coming into this year, and I thought he would do it by winning on a road course. I did not expect him to win the Daytona 500 at all, and to his credit, he ran a really great race. Until he blocked Ryan Blaney, but that's a story for another day. He has 5 top 5s and 8 top 10s to go along with his victory in the Great American Race, so he hasn't been bad. He's pretty much been a top 15 guy all summer. I don't see him making a deep playoff run. I think this is just a big learning experience for Cindric. Give him 2 or 3 more years to develop, and I think he can be a championship threat, but for right now, he's running about where I thought he'd be, top 15. It may have came 3 years later than expected, but Daniel Suarez is finally in the Cup Series playoffs. And he did it by winning too, a race win well earned at Sonoma. With 6 top 5s and 10 top 10s, this has been the best year of Daniel Suarez's career. I think the thing that is most impressive about this team is since about Kansas, he has had top 10 speed pretty much every single week. The results haven't shown it for some of these races, but Suarez has always consistently lurked in there and made himself known in the top 10. I think that'll be the biggest thing that'll help him and this Trackhouse Racing team to be a low-key round of 8 contender. Watch out for him. This is going to be the biggest test of Suarez's career. This is where he has to prove to the entire Cup Series field that he is here to stay and he's a legitimate contender. After finishing top 5 in the Daytona 500, leading 20 laps at Auto Club, and then getting his first career win at Phoenix in the first 4 races of the year this season, I thought Chase Briscoe was ready to take the next step and Stewart-Haas Racing was ready to come back to become contenders again. Since then, Chase Briscoe has been completely irrelevant. The only notable things he has done was taking out Tyler Reddick at Bristol Dirt in the last corner and spinning out at Charlotte with 2 laps to go trying to go for the win. In fact, After that 4th place finish at the Coca-Cola 600, Briscoe hasn't even finished inside the top 10. He was the one most in danger of falling out of the playoffs with the win with how many winners we were getting over the summer, and I don't see that changing. I just don't see him all of a sudden flipping a switch and becoming competitive again and competing for these playoffs. He is a pretty easy lock to be out of the round of 16, unless if he and that 14 team can pull off an absolute miracle. After finishing second to Joey Logano at Gateway, Kyle Busch sat with 11 top 10 finishes, 6 top 5 finishes, and a win at Bristol Dirt that he backed into, but you know what, it's better to be lucky than be good. Unfortunately for Kyle Busch, since that race at Gateway, he has not been good. He has only had 2 top 10 finishes in the last 11 races, and those were 9th at Richmond and 10th at Daytona. This coincides with the breaking apart of Kyle Busch's contract negotiations with Joe Gibbs Racing, and his future is completely up in the air. Needless to say, 2022 has been an absolute disaster for Kyle Busch. But with so much uncertainty about his future, I think it goes without saying that these playoffs are the most important playoffs of Kyle Busch's career. If he can pull off a deep playoff run, it would be tremendous for Kyle Busch and his ambitions of having long-term stability. This is a driver who's fully capable of doing it too, but with all of the distractions of his contract and a pretty iffy crew chief in Ben Bayshore on top of the pit box, it's going to be a tough road ahead for Kyle Busch. But if there's any driver I feel like in this Cup Series field that can pull something like this off, it's Kyle Busch. I mean this in no offense, but it is quite alarming when Christopher Bell is the best chance at a championship Toyota has this season. It's not that Bell's been bad. He has 7 top 5 finishes and 14 top 10s, and a pretty darn convincing win at New Hampshire in the summer. But Christopher Bell is a driver in his 3rd season, and while he's been good, I haven't seen that championship edge just yet. I know it's in there. He has the talent. He's just not ready yet. But Bell's season has been really good. It started off terribly, but he has been able to work his way back up into the top 10 in points for most of the year. I don't think he's going to make it all the way to the championship 4, but he definitely has a good shot of making it to the round of 8. This season is a vintage Kevin Harvick race just strung out into a full regular season. At the start, he's a talking point. How will Kevin Harvick bounce back from a winless season? Can Kevin Harvick put the drama of last year's playoffs behind him? And as it starts out, you see he's not really up there. All of a sudden, the narrative, he's washed. He has no chance. Everyone writes him off. But because of that, people don't notice that he's slowly but surely working his way up the field, consistently finishing top 10 to top 15. He works his way up into the top 10 in points. And then at the 11th hour, Mr. Where Did He Come From gets shot out of a cannon, and he all of a sudden breaks the narrative, swings the momentum with back-to-back race wins, and the closer closes out the deal with momentum on his side. Kevin Harvick's championship dominant days are over. He is not going to ever come back to the form he had from 2014 to 2020. But what Kevin Harvick does have is over 2 decades of experience, one of the best crew chiefs on the pit box, and the uncanny ability to perfectly manage races. Harvick is one of the best race managers, not just in the NASCAR Cup Series field, but in NASCAR history. I don't think he's going to make it to the championship 4, but he should be a pretty good bet to make it to the round of 8. And it would be hilarious if he gets hot at the right time and Chase Elliott falters and Harvick wins the championship as an inverse of 2020. Because with the way this season has gone, anything can happen. The superstar potential that Tyler Reddick showed in these Xfinity Series days with Richard Childress Racing has finally come to fruition. Reddick broke out this year, winning 2 races, getting 8 top 5s and 11 top 10s. He has been one of the topics of conversation the entire year, but unfortunately, the timing of this breakout cannot be any worse. Reddick has announced that he will be leaving RCR after next season, and Richard Childress is incredibly angry about it. Now, Reddick may have helped himself by helping Dillon into the playoffs, so Childress may cut him some slack and not focus all his efforts onto the 3 car. But with the rumors of RC wanting Reddick gone next year, and Kyle Busch potentially being a name that could fill in the 8 car, this might be the last ride for Tyler Reddick and RCR. But if Tyler Reddick can play his cards right, get into the round of 8, he has Homestead right there. He can easily win that race. And he finished top 5 at Phoenix earlier this year. I think he might be the biggest dark horse to win this championship. The talent's there. Will the support from RCR be there? We'll have to see. But hey, look on the bright side. At least 2311 technically has a guy in the playoffs this year. This season has been the most Ryan Blaney season imaginable. He is super consistent. In the top 5, held the top 3 in points almost the entire year. He's up there, he's a name, everybody knows he's competitive, but at regular season's end, he barely scrapes into the playoffs, and he somehow still hasn't won a race because of that good old Blaney luck. But with him now in the playoffs, Ryan Blaney is easily a championship threat, even without the win. Blaney's a really good driver, but the thing with Ryan Blaney is that he just hasn't gotten over that hump. Whatever that hump is, if it's an it factor, if it's Penske holding him back, is it Ford, is it himself, whatever it is, he needs to just find something deep and go on a deep playoff run. Round of 8 just can't cut it every single year. There are good tracks in these playoffs for Blaney. He may be cursed at Bristol, but he is really good there. Just don't lead any laps and he should be fine and avoid any wrecks. Texas, he won the All-Star race. He's been really good there. He's really good at Martinsville. He's won at the Charlotte Roval. He's got Talladega in here. Blaney has a good shot at making it to the championship floor. Him and that team just need to capitalize on these opportunities and finally get over that hump to say, hey, we are the best team at Team Penske, and we are the best shot of a championship for Ford this season. This year has been one of the weirdest years I have ever seen for Denny Hamlin. Since 2014, Hamlin has had at least 17 top 10s every year, until this year where he only has 7. He has 5 top 5s, 2 wins, and 3 poles. This year has just been weird for him. No matter what this 11 team does, they just can't seem to finish races. But somehow they still manage to pull 2 wins out of their ass. Do I think Denny Hamlin is a championship contender? Absolutely. Do I think Denny Hamlin can flame out and get eliminated in the first round? Absolutely. And you know what? It's gonna be either or. He's either going to completely crash and burn in this opening round in an embarrassing fashion, or he's gonna somehow go all the way to Phoenix and win the championship, because you know what? That's just how this year has gone for Hamlin. All I would say for Denny is just stay away from Ross Chastain, unless if you're the one behind him so you can punt him into the wall. After Martinsville, William Byron had 2 wins, and everyone was saying this is his breakout year. He's going to be a championship threat. Since that win, in the last 18 races, William Byron's only top 10 finish has been a 9th place finish at Sonoma. This team has been terrible this year, and it's been a combination of just bad race cars, bad strategies, horrific luck, and just whatever the racing gods just throw at this team. I don't know what he did to piss them off, but you know what? They just need to figure out something to get back on their good side, because this year has been awful for Byron. The only reason he's even in the top 5 in the playoff grid right now is because he got a lot of playoff points in those 2 victories. But other than that, I have zero faith in this 24 car to even make it past the first round. This season has been a far cry from the dominance of last year for Kyle Larson. In fact, this year has felt more like all of his years at Chip Ganassi Racing, always teasing us with that championship potential but never putting it together, and being incredibly streaky. He only has 2 wins, and honestly, he should probably have 4 or 5 by now. Do I doubt that this 5 team can put it together and win? No. Cliff Daniels is easily one of the best crew chiefs in the garage, and Kyle Larson is probably the best natural talent in the Cup Series right now. Whatever reason, this team can just not seem to put together back-to-back races very often, and I think that'll be crucial in these playoffs. You have to put 3 races together really well 3 times in the playoffs. They did that to perfection last year, but I just don't see that happening this year. Can they turn it around? Yes. Will they? I don't know. But if it comes down between him and Chase Elliott late in one of these races, he'll probably put him into the wall and win in advance. I see that having zero repercussions. Ross Chastain came out of nowhere this season and has been a legitimate championship threat with this Trackhouse Racing team. The crazy part is that this is essentially the 42 team of the last couple of years, and they were awful, but they've came out of nowhere and they're championship threats. They have one of the highest top 5 counts with 10 this year, and they got 2 wins. What could go wrong? Well, you see, the problem is that Ross Chastain has pissed off the entirety of Joe Gibbs Racing, to the point that this man so much as leaves the toilet seat up and they want him tarred and feathered. He has pissed off so many people this year that it makes Vickernism look like it was mild in comparison. Can Ross Chastain make this championship 4? Absolutely. But with the entire Cup Series field basically wanting him dead, I see no way he's going to make a championship run this year. He's going to get Joey Logano'd so hard that even Matt Kenseth is going to tell people to cool down. And you know what? Even as a fan of the guy, he absolutely deserves it. The Melon Man needs to play his cards right, because if he doesn't, it's his melon that's going to get smashed into the ground. With how inconsistent Joey Logano has been this year, I'm honestly shocked that he is second on the playoff grid. He's got a couple of wins, he's led a lot of laps, but I just don't see him being a real championship threat. Blaney has by far been the more consistent and better performing Team Penske car. I mean, there's really not much else that could be said. He's been fine, but there's a good 5 or 6 drivers I'd pick ahead of Logano as championship threats. Maybe he can prove me wrong, he certainly could, but I'm just not seeing it from him this year. This has by far been the best year of Chase Elliott's career. He's got 4 wins, although one of them he kinda won by default because of disqualifications. But still, he's earned the most playoff points. He's had the points lead every week since the first Atlanta race. He's been the guy. He's the only one you can really say is a championship favorite this year. But in true Chase Elliott fashion, there's probably going to be some kind of Mickey Mouse shenanigans that'll happen, because that always happens for Mickey Elliott. He should have the clearest path to making it to the championship 4. Hey, he's been pretty good at Phoenix over the last few years. If Chase Elliott is going to solidify his legacy and become a multi-time champion, this is the best year he can do it. So with all that said, how do I think these playoffs are going to go? Well, with how chaotic the 2022 season is, I have no doubts that this playoffs are going to be incredibly wild and unpredictable. So most of these predictions are going to be wrong, and I fully admit to that. Going out in this first round, I have Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, and Denny Hamlin. These drivers have just been way too inconsistent for me to believe that they're going to mount anything of a championship push this year. In the round of 12, I have Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano making it out of this round. These drivers are good, but I'm just not seeing it. Kyle Busch, it's just not been his year this year, and Joey Logano's been real inconsistent, and I think that'll hurt him in this wild card round, breaking the even number championship 4 trend for Logano. In the round of 8, I have Daniel Suarez, Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, and Ross Chastain being eliminated. I think this is where Ross Chastain will finally pay his dues and get completely destroyed into oblivion by the field. And the rest of these guys, good year, just not your year. So with that said, my championship 4 prediction is Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, and Tyler Reddick. Even though I have my doubts about Kyle Larson, I feel like the rest of the field will probably cannibalize themselves, and he will capitalize into the round. Tyler Reddick win his way in via Homestead. Ryan Blaney will consistently make his way in, and I think he'll probably win a race or 2 in these playoffs. And Chase Elliott is virtually guaranteed a spot. But it's 2022, and you never know what can happen. Out of these 4 men, my champion prediction is Chase Elliott.
Yes! Yeah! Oh, better luck next time, buddy! Woo!
I know it's pretty boring, but I don't see these other 3 guys being able to beat him, unless if Kyle Larson runs him into the wall yet again. I thoroughly look forward to the week before the championship 4 to see my predictions and how wrong I am. Thank you all so much for watching.